Hello to my fire signs, Aries, Leo and Sagittarius. Welcome to your horoscopes for the Taurus new moon. It's a break in the waves. You'll find your reading for your rising sign in the timestamps listed below. Hello Aries rising. My name's Uma and this is your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus, happening on the 20th of May at 1:55 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. Now this is a very exciting and auspicious event. It's something that we haven't had the activation or the access to for about 2 years now. Since May of 2021 we've been experiencing eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio, and that kind of takes our power out of our own hands when coming to initiate something fresh at a new moon. So I'm really excited about this one. Before we go anywhere though, I wanted to let you all know that I'm hosting a live ritual on Zoom for the Sagittarius full moon. So this is jumping ahead a little bit, but on the 4th of June, I'll be hosting a little ceremony for us all to get together if you feel like it. And I'll be sharing some stories about my process to get to where I am now with this kind of work. And also we'll be kind of virtually holding hands and celebrating together as the full moon hits its exactitude on the 4th. So if you'd like to join, there I think is a link down in the description box below where you can register and you'll get sent the Zoom link, and I'll see you in 2 weeks or so. With that out of the way, I'm going to put our sand over because I really want for us Aries rising to consider our second house at this lunation. So in the second house, we find our value system. We have access to finances and to material worth, and it's where we kind of learn about taking care of ourselves, fiscally and otherwise. So on that topic, I wonder how over the past, as I said, 2 years, how that sort of has been either maybe like surging in power, or there's been things that you've really had to let go of, and kind of, I imagine there may have been a couple of times where you've needed to I've got Blanche Dubois in my head now, not rely on the kindness of strangers, but allow somebody else to take the wheel for a moment and allow for them to provide for you in times where you haven't been able to provide for yourself. This is something that may have been going on for the past, I think like 24-ish months. The last new moon in Taurus that we had access to was in May of 2021. And then in November of 2021, we had our first eclipse in that house. So this one, the dragon's head, is farther enough away from the lunation that it's not going to be gobbled up by an eclipse. It's a clearing. It's kind of confusing too, because at the end of this year in October we'll have a final crescendo of Taurian eclipses. So this almost feels like it's sort of like a break before the final act, before the final swan song. So I want you to feel optimistic at this one, Aries, and I really want you to think about your money, your values, what you wish to build, and how you're going about doing that. There's 2 other planets around this time, around this lunation, that are causing a bit of a ruckus, I might say. There's a bit of a T-square going on between Jupiter, who has just entered Taurus at this lunation a few days before. And Jupiter, we know, expands everything that it touches with a great optimism and, a kind of faith. When Jupiter's in company with us in our chart, or when it hits certain parts of our chart, there is a feeling of kind of enthusiasm that goes along with that. So Jupiter has just entered Taurus at 0 degrees and has formed a square with Pluto. If you remember, Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And also, the day after this lunation, Mars will have left Cancer and entered Leo at 0 degrees. So there's an opposition between Mars, the planet of fire, your ruling planet, I might say, the one that you maybe might look to for guidance in your astrological work, but Mars in opposition to Pluto, the planet of disintegration and revolution and destruction and rebirth. And that square with Jupiter in Taurus. Now, this is a whole bunch of astro babble, and I don't want to sort of weigh it down too much with this kind of language. But what I kind of feel with this configuration, Aries, is that there's a real encouragement for you to express yourself, for you to create, for you to, if you've fallen out of favor perhaps with your creativity or with your perception on life, how you see it from your viewpoint, this kind of dance between these three planets it feels like there's something in your creative world that can inform your finances. And it's kind of the push between Aquarius, where we find community, and when we think about the group, the human species, in opposition to Leo, which is where we express and create and be proud of ourselves, squaring down with Jupiter in Taurus, which is where we grow and sustain. I like this one for you, Aries, and I think that if things have been difficult with money over the past 2 years or so, or if there's been sort of like, stopping and starting, or there's been something that you wanted to get off the ground but you haven't really found the right time, or things have sort of been getting in the way, I would really look to this new moon in Taurus on the 20th of May to press the ignition, to feel supported by Jupiter. Jupiter's just left your sign as well. So there's been a wave of, coming back to a sense of clarity about who it is you are and what it is you want to do with your life. And maybe on a deeper level too, on a sort of soul, there's a resonance that I feel with Jupiter having offered some potential, and now you can bring that into your second house. You can bring that into how you earn a buck, turn a coin, all of that stuff. Now, the tarot cards that I'm looking at here are pretty interesting. So if we think about, if we first of all think about this lunation, the new moon is sitting in the final decan of Taurus. So it's at 28 degrees of Taurus, the day before we enter Gemini season. So it's kind of, we've had this last month-ish to have the sun shining on our second house, have that warmth and that vibrancy in our second, and a new moon, which is a point of ignition, a point of initiation, right before the seasons change. The card for that last decan of Taurus is the Seven of Pentacles. And so you can see there's someone that's kind of, they've done everything that they've thought they needed to do, and they're kind of waiting. They're kind of thinking to themselves, oh gosh, I hope this sticks. I hope this takes. And so what this card really kind of describes to me is a sense of patience. We need to be patient with things. And as far as committing to a long game, that's something that we can see in this card too. The Seven of Pentacles, it kind of feels a bit frustrating as well, doesn't it? Sort of oh, hurry up. Let's go, let's get this thing going. I've done everything that I needed to do, but now I have to wait. And I guess this card is sort of telling us, you do have to wait a little bit. And that's all right. There's another point. I'm just looking at another note that I've made here for myself. There's another point that's probably only going to be maybe specific to folks my age. My Chiron placement, remember that wounded healer asteroid, the one that provides us with an opportunity maybe to heal some of our traumas. When we see Chiron, we can look to Chiron for guidance. And on my birth chart, my Chiron is in Taurus at 28 degrees. And so this lunation is going to be activating that point for me. So if you're born in 1984, the early part of 1984, I would be very interested to see how this transit, how this conjunction between this Chiron placement and this new moon plays out for you. And if you're an Aries rising with this Chiron placement in Taurus, I'm sorry, because that's tough. That continual feeling of lack or worry about loss might be one of your major points of interest to heal in yourself. We all have an ability to break the cycle, and when working with this kind of astrology, it gives us a great sort of like blueprint of how and why. So I'm going to pull some intuitive tarot now, Aries, but I'd love to get your perspective in the comments if you'd like, and let me know how things have been going for you, how the purse strings have been, if they've been tight, or if they've been, if you know, you kind of maybe have been met with a wave of possibility, or there's been, you know, there's been a chunk of money, a chunk of change that you're not quite sure what to do with, or you're thinking about investing it in this way, and you're just sort of waiting for the right moment to, you know, hit send to start this new project. Yeah. Let's get some intuitive tarot and we'll see what else comes out. I've got the 3 5s here that I'm looking at too, which I'll show you in a minute. But Pluto is at the 5 of Swords, Jupiter is at the 5 of Pentacles, and Mars will be on the 21st at the 5 of Wands. 555 means change. I like that as a pretty optimistic little lesson or message, Aries. Things have been tough, don't you worry. Things are going to change. Things are going to change for the better, I would say. I really do. It kind of feels, yeah, it feels like we've been waiting for this new moon. We've been waiting to, reclaim a bit of a sense of autonomy over our life's condition and over how we, you know, budget and take care of the bottom line. So if you're intuitive, I got the Ace of Wands, the King of Pentacles, and I got Temperance. Yeah, I like this Ace of Wands straight up. First of all, I would consider this little match. Remember that the wands are always fire, right? And fire is magic, same as you, Aries. And so this match, this ignition, much like you, Aries, might crop up around this new moon. There might be something that kind of clicks into place for you about your, you know, material worth, as it were. It's kind of hard, funny language to talk about, isn't it? When we're sort of, you know, we know that we're not, we know that we're not worth just what's in our bank balance, or how much we've stored away or saved away, or how much we can, you know, our earning potential too. It's hard with creative people especially, and this is something that I've been thinking quite a lot about, and it's sort of something that I'm really relaxing into as far as it being just a part of my makeup and a part of how my brain works. It's kind of like it feels like an unconscious, like, you know, contract that was signed before I was born, but it's like I have to create, I have to be using my creative brain to its fullest effect. And, you know, at university I was told there's no money in it, and that's absolutely the truth. There is no money in it, but there's enough to get by. And so maybe this is almost like, I think I'm saying this because Mars is in your 5th house, or will have entered your 5th house the day after this new moon. And that's where we create. That's where we express ourselves. That's the house of our artistry. And Mars being your guiding light, Aries, or Aries rising, I should say. There's something brewing, and I think that this new moon might be a good one for you to, if you've never done it before, like take like the sort of lunation ritual a bit more seriously. You can, and it's just as, and when I say seriously, all I mean is sit or make a note of when it's happening, and then write yourself a wish list. That's one beautiful way to work with these lunations, is think about the house, so think about your money, your values, and then just write down what it is you wish to achieve over the next bit of time, or over the next 6 months until that final eclipse. The other cards I got were the King of Pentacles and Temperance. And so, yeah, it feels to me that there's someone here that has, you know, sort of earth sign energy, and they're really, actually really good at the kind of financial side of life. They're really good at managing a property and managing a bank account. They might be someone that's not you. They might be someone, you know, a friend or a lover or, you know, even a work colleague that's around you that maybe might be offering you some advice. They might see what you're up to or what you want to do, this match, and they might say to you, you know what, I've got some ideas. I've got some ideas for you. This is this is my practical guidance for this creative endeavor. The other card I got is Temperance, and this is big Sag energy, Sagittarius. The Temperance angel always reminds us of the precision needed when we are direct in our intentions, you know, when we're trying to get something pretty crazy off the ground, or if we're, you know, taking a chance. This is when Temperance shows up. It's not so much about kind of, you know, the word temperance, you know, there was the temperance movement, and, you know, that's sort of like quelling kind of feeling with the word temper, right? It's kind of this card, and also one of the definitions of temperance is that sort of precision in order to act, to move in the right direction. I have a great deal of faith in you, my Aries rising friends, and I think that this new moon is really going to be a little gateway, a window into some great results for you. Write me some comments in the comments section below. Let me know how it's going, and let me know what you are working on. You know, I think sometimes we sort of keep these little matches to ourselves, don't we? And we don't sort of feel maybe confident enough to share them just yet, because we can't see, we don't have the confidence yet to know that we're onto a good thing. But when you share these little flashes of inspiration with other people, that's when the idea can grow, and that's when the support, that, you know, energetic support or whatever it is that you wanted to say, like, that's when other people have got their best intentions for you and they're thinking about that project too, and that's when things can start to open up. But if it's really, you need some guidance, you need just someone who kind of knows what they're doing, then Tarot is telling you that, maybe keep a keener eye out for who this might be, because I reckon they've got some really good solutions for you. All right, well, that's your reading for the Taurus new moon, Aries. Thanks very much for being here. I can read your birth chart at umaruby.com. Head to the readings page and you can choose from all of the different elements which journey you'd like to go on with me. You can also send me some tip money at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. And I'll remind you again, check out the link in the description below, because I'd love for you to attend this ritual with me for the Sagittarius full moon. I think we'll have a nice time. It'll be, a nice story time, story sharing. I think, I do so love this exchange, but sometimes it's nice to have the other physical presence too. You take care, Aries. I love you heaps, and I'll speak to you in 2 weeks for this full moon in Sagittarius. We have a full moon rather than a new moon to begin the season. Everything's switched around because of that double Aries lunation. So we're going backwards and forwards. So we have a Sagittarius full moon before the new moon in Gemini at the end of the season. I hope this is making sense. Anyway, I love you, and write me a message and I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Hello Leo, welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus, happening on the 20th of May at 1:55 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. Now, before I tip the sand, I wanted to let you know very quickly, in 2 weeks at the Sagittarius full moon on June the 4th, I'm going to be hosting a live ritual on Zoom. I thought it would be a really nice idea for folks that have been enjoying my readings to come and gather together and have a little bit of story time. Sagittarius is my 10th house of my career and my legacy, and there's a lot of interesting information in there that I'd like to share with you about what brought me to this point in time and engaging in this kind of work, as opposed to some of the other kinds of work that I used to. And of course, we'll be having a little moment by candlelight with the full moon itself. So we'll be able to kind of hold hands and release together at that time. So there's a link in the description box below. If you'd like to join, you can register, and I'll see you on Zoom for that. But let's rewind and let's have a look at this new moon in Taurus, because there is a kind of like a traffic jam of energy that's happening at this one, Leo, and it's kind of, I can see what's going on already, but I'd like to give you a little pep talk to let you know that it's going to be a-okay. So this is the first lunation in Taurus that we have say in since May of 2021 was the last one that we had any say in. It was a full moon in Taurus. And then we had a solar eclipse in November of that year. So at a new moon, it's kind of like an initiation, and it's definitely an invitation to make wishes or cast your spells or focus in on the area of life that the sign rules, and think about it and think about what you might like to have happen in your life and bring it in. So for you, Taurus rules your 10th house, which is your career, your most public self, and your legacy. Like Sagittarius is for me, but I'm a Pisces rising. So this is going to be really great, especially for kind of working through maybe some of the turbulence that's been playing out in that house for you over the last 24 months or so. I imagine that your career, your most public self, your vocation, kind of your legacy, what you wish to be known for, I imagine that there has been some blockages to clear, and there may have been some sort of feeling of like surging ahead and then having to pull back, and surging ahead and then having to pull back again. And it may have been a little bit destabilizing. This is in the clear. The dragon's head isn't anywhere near this lunation. There's no chance of it being gobbled up. So we've got this one to look forward to. We've got this one to kind of hang on to and say, look, this is my career. This is what I wish to be known for. This is my legacy, and this is how I'm going to go about it. Do it for me, moon. Do it for me. Now that's one thing, okay? The other sort of tryst that's going on in and around this lunation is between Jupiter, the planet that expands and optimizes. Okay, so Jupiter's just entered Taurus at this time. So Jupiter at 0 degrees is forming a square with Pluto, who has stationed retrograde but is still in Aquarius at 0 degrees. So your house of relationships and beloveds, and your who stands in front of you, the other. And also on the day after this lunation, on the 21st of May, Mars will enter your sign, Leo. So at 0 degrees of Leo, Mars is forming an opposition with Pluto in your 7th house, and also a square with Jupiter in your 10th. This feels tense, but it feels hopeful as well. If we kind of zone in on the 10th, your legacy, finally having a bit of a say-so, finally maybe getting the reins and kind of taking control of the ship again, or the horse, or the donkey, whatever it is that your career is to you. But then there's this friction, this push and pull, and this really kind of powerful face-off between your first house. So if you're a Leo rising, that's your house of the soul, that's your house of the layer beneath the personality, your soul's mission, and also the house of the other, of your nearest and dearest relationships. So think about that. That's kind of quite confronting, and it feels like explosive. But I wonder if it's going to be explosive in a negative way. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. We've done such great work to get to this point, haven't we, Leo? And I think that you've been doing all that you can to keep your eyes on the prize and to focus and to kind of gently work through some of the more difficult moments in relationship with others, or with that kind of sense of longing to connect, or longing to find someone that can, you know, almost be like Jupiter for you in your 10th as well. There's always a square between our legacy and our 7th house. That's just the way every chart is sort of in operation. There's always going to be some tension between those two houses. So how are you going to work with that tension at this new moon? And what does your legacy include? Is it, of course it is, you're a Leo rising. I'm sure it's very bold and vibrant and proud. I'm sure that there's a real kind of sense of like confidence and majesty in the work that you do, the work that you wish to be known for. But the 10th isn't just about work, you know. That's more of a 6th house idea, or even a 2nd. The 10th is about what we're leaving behind, maybe, our most public contribution. So what does that include? And what would you like that to include in regard to your 7th house of relationships? Now, there are 3 tarot cards that are we're working with at this one, and they look tricky, but I tell you what, Leo, we've got 5, 5, and 5. Now that means change to me, straight up. 555, whenever you see that on the clock or on the bus stop, or, you know, wherever 555 pops up for you, you can always remember to yourself, whenever you see it, Uma said that means change. Something is going to shift. Something's going to be not the way that it used to be. Got Kate Bush in my head, but I always do. It's like, I don't know when, but just saying it, it might even make it happen. Something good is going to happen. That's 555. So whenever you maybe see that, make note of it and look forward to the change. And you can see from these cards, it might be nice to have a bit of a change from this. This is our Leo energy. This is the 5 of Wands. This is kind of like a sparring match, or like a test of will, you know. It's sort of like, what have I learned? And I need to practice my skills, and I need to show them off. It's kind of, there's something that sort of feels contained about this. It's not so much of a battle to the death, you know. This, on the other hand, is a bit more like that. We know that the swords represent our thoughts, and they can represent the truth. And these folks here are like tools down. They're like, nah, forget it. There's someone here that is collecting the spoils of their battle. They feel victorious, but they don't look victorious, do they? Whatever was said kind of bears no winners in this particular configuration as far as I can see it. Now, Jupiter's here at the 5 of Pentacles. So this is about feeling destitute, feeling locked out, being not enough, being less valuable, and also, yeah, not feeling welcome in a space that would provide warmth. So I want this to change for you, Leo, I really do, and I can see it happening with this lunation. The other end of the spectrum of Taurus is the 7 of Pentacles, and this is where this moon is playing out. And so rather than desolation, there's definitely patience in this card. So I want you to kind of weigh up your career objectives at this lunation. I want you to sort of think about, lay them on the table and think about where you want to journey next with your legacy, with your life's work, your mission statement. And I also want you to pay a little attention to your 7th house and start to maybe prepare, but we're going to definitely be feeling a sort of rebirth in that environment for you over the next 20 years. The way that you relate to people, I imagine, will go through some beautiful, much needed changes, and perhaps the way people are relating to you will do the same. What I know is that what do I know about love? Nothing. That's not true. I've been in love many, many times. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. No, I'm being facetious. It can be tricky when you are such a creative-minded person, Leo, and I think that if you're a Leo rising, that would sort of be almost, we can probably gently agree with each other that that's part of you. There's an artistry to what it is that you do, and there's something brilliant about your mind that needs to create, needs to make, needs to investigate. And the boldness and the brightness of that, it takes a certain kind of person to be able to be in relationship with such a powerhouse creator, someone so marvelous. And that's not to say that you're hard work at all, Leo. It just goes to say that no crap. I'd love for you maybe at this lunation to kind of feel Mars and that confidence of initiation in your first house, and that sparring match between Mars and Pluto in your 7th. Jotting up to Taurus in your 10th, your career. Jupiter expands and brings hope wherever it goes. And so I think that the emphasis on your 10th house, your career, your legacy, is you're not up yourself, babe. This is what you're kind of here to teach all of us, to self-express. That's what Leo really does. And I know that I say that to you every single reading, but it's so important to kind of drum home into you, big head, don't care. Like, you're not showing off. Maybe sometimes you are, and who cares? Like, it's fun to show off. Kids love to show off, don't they? It's cool. There's no shame in showing off until somebody tells you that it's shameful. And so thinking about your 7th house in Aquarius, your relationship zone, I want you to, cast a little wish out to draw in somebody that sees how bright and vibrant you are and is drawn to it, that would not dumb it down a shade for a moment. Compromise in relationships, of course, absolutely. There's definitely a reciprocal push and pull and give and take. We all know this, and we all are doing our best to kind of find that symbiosis, aren't we? But as far as turning or dimming your light, that's not a solution. Sorry, honey, you're a lion, and that's what you're here to do. That's what you have to do. So when it comes to your career, your legacy, what it is that you wish to be known for, and perhaps this potential spark or this kind of extra enthusiasm that will be happening. And, Jupiter's going to be there for a year. So we've got 12 whole months to look forward to Jupiter's company in our 10th house, Leo. Keep working on what you're working on. And if there's the right one's going to find you, and there might be the right few. Nothing is for certain, and nothing really lasts forever. That's one thing that we can all be absolutely sure of. Everything ticks over and new cycles begin, right? So there might be the right few for you. But I know that feeling of wishing to be in company with someone that you adore and that adores you back and that sees what you're doing and wants to roll up their sleeves and assist in any way that they can, that marvels at what you do. You want to sort of, in some ways, want to do it together. I know that feeling too. So let's use this break in the eclipses. This kind of feels like a free pass in some ways, this lunation. It's like, wait, what? A new moon with no eclipse in Taurus? What? Okay, let's go. So just use it for you, use it for your legacy, focus in on that. And then we're going to see what happens between Mars and Pluto in your 1st and your 7th. And we're going to look forward to the script being rewritten in your relationship zone. I can see it happening. And I think that it's going to be gorgeous for you. You're going to love it. All right, that's your reading, Leo. I love you heaps, my darling. Do head to umaruby.com and I will read your birth chart if you'd like. You can also throw some tip money in the jar at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. The link's in the description below. And also the other link for my Sagittarius full moon ritual if you'd like to join me on Zoom in 2 weeks for a languid little, I think I've said 2 hours, so you don't have to commit to the whole thing. But I'm going to be sharing some stories and looking forward to what occurs next in my 10th house. So I'll speak to you then. I love you, Leo. You take care. Bye. Hello, Sagittarius rising. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus happening on the 20th of May at 1:55 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. Now, before I turn the sand, I wish to invite you to a little ritual, Sagittarius. We're going to jump forward a little bit, but on the 4th of June, there's going to be a full moon in Sagittarius, and I'm hosting a little ritual to celebrate that on Zoom. So if you're wanting to come together, and there'll be a little bit of storytelling, I wish to kind of maybe get to know you, perhaps a little bit more. I'd love to take a little trip down memory lane and let you know what has brought me to this place, why I have landed in this clearing of astrology and tarot, and what it took and what I look forward to it developing into. So if you'd like to join me, Sagittarius, I'd be so honoured to have your company. There's a link in the description box below, so you can click on that, have a little read and register your attendance, and I'll email you the link so you can join us on the 4th. But let's rewind back to this new moon in Taurus, because we haven't had a new moon in Taurus that we've had access to for 2 years now. The last lunation that happened that was free of eclipses was in May of 2021. And so there's been all of that short-circuiting and power supply sort of being quite limited over this time. There's been things that have kind of been needing drastic attention to, and also there's been things that have sort of had to shed a little bit. Now, Taurus rules your 6th house, Sagittarius rising, and this is the house of the rhythm of the day, and it has so much to do with our health, the rhythm of our body. And so I hope and trust and pray that everything's been okay in your health over this last period of time, and we can probably look to these eclipses that have been short-circuiting things a little bit as not moment for alarm, but definitely moment for attention. I think sometimes this, eclipses in the 6th can sort of be like, right, okay, my body's actually really telling me that this is what I need. And I'm going to be taking that and registering it and listening to it. But this is a new moon, so this is a place where we get to receive, we get to work with it. It's kind of like an initiation. So as with every house, the definition is quite broad, right? The 6th, as I said, it's our health, our ecosystem of the body. It's our daily rhythm, the routine of the day. It's kind of like, I've got images of like body as a temple, but also how do you build a temple? In Hellenistic astrology, which is one of the earliest forms of it, the 6th had a lot to do with servitude, with sort of like the kind of meditation that one had to get into in order to work. There's a lot attached to this place. So I want for you to really feel kind of embodied at this one. The dragon's head is further enough away from this moon that there's going to be no eclipse. It's like a sort of reprieve before the final hurrah, the final lunar eclipse in Taurus in October. And I want you to take extra special care and consideration for your health. And I want you to look forward to improving on that too. That's what we can do at new moons, is we always have this sort of feeling of like initiation, this feeling of being like, right, I have power over this part of my life and I have hopes and dreams for it, and I'm going to put them out and send them off into the cosmos. Now, also, there's a bit of a kind of tryst going on between three separate planets around the time of this lunation too. So along with the sun and the moon at 28 degrees, the last hurrah of Taurus, Jupiter has just entered at 0 degrees of the sign. So Jupiter is forming a square with Pluto in Aquarius at 0 degrees, and also Mars will be entering Leo, and at 0 degrees there'll be an opposition between Mars and Pluto and a square with Jupiter. So it's like a triangle of sort of like a hard triangle of intention. When planets are square, there's definitely a push and a pull and a pressure point that's going on here. So when we think about Aquarius, we think about your third house, Sagittarius, which is a house of the village, our local environment, our neighborhood, folk magic, the kind of parts of us or the experiences that we have where lessons are shared via language too, rather than academia. And right across the way in Leo, this is the bold halls of philosophy and of publishing and of expanding our minds and sharing what we know. Now, I find this really interesting. Sagittarius, and I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff that is going to occur for you in these two houses. Mars is brash. Mars is bold, and Mars is sort of bringing with it some kind of confidence. I wonder if there's been something that you've been kind of thinking about, putting pen to paper, about sort of like writing something down. And I also wonder if, in fact, it has a relationship with your physicality, with your health, with your body. There's something that I'm going to show you the tarot cards too. So at 0 degrees of Taurus, we have the 5 of Pentacles. 0 degrees of Leo, we have the 5 of Wands. And at 0 degrees of Aquarius, we have the 5 of Swords. Now that's 5, 5, 5. That's change. And I want you to what I want you to do, because I'm getting, there's a lot going on in this at this particular, and I'm trying to be as clear as I can to explain it to you. So I'm going to just break it down. I want you to think about your life up until this very moment, and what you've sacrificed and what you've learned about the limits of your physical body, and what you've learned about the meditative practice of repetition, of kind of putting perhaps needs and wants and desires to a side in order to engage in the ritual of repetition. And I want you to take all of that information, and I want you to kind of reflect on that, and I want you to see how it might start playing out or coming out of you through a pen or through your voice, through storytelling. This is a really strong message for this lunation, Sagittarius, and it's coming quite strongly. You can see these cards here. There's definitely a feeling of lack in the 5 of Pentacles. There's a feeling of destitution, of being shut out, left out in the cold, of not being able to receive sanctuary, not feeling entitled to claim sanctuary in a place that appears to be quite warm. There's a sparring match. There's a test of will here, a test of magic. This is rehearsal room, is what I see in the Five of Wands. And there's also the decision to walk away from perhaps a conversation or truth or intelligences that are no longer worth it. There's something here, it's sort of like, actually no, I bow out, and I bow out gracefully. So what I'm thinking for you, Sagittarius, is that it might be time for you to start that book or to start that class or to start that sharing circle, whatever it is, that, you know, tarot course or whatever it is. There's a lovely relationship between the 9th and the 3rd house. One is quite lofty and quite sort of accomplished, you know. You're quite good in the 9th house as well, Sagittarius. You have that hunger to learn, that hunger to seek out, to expand your mind, right? So that's got a lot to do with this sort of 9th house principle, this sort of academic, philosophical grandeur, yeah? Publishing. Astrology is in there too in the 9th house. The 3rd is local. The 3rd is the hedge witch. The 3rd is the one that someone comes to for healing or for guidance, and they get that through language, not so much, you know, word count or sentence structure, through voice. Does this make sense to you? I hope that it does. I hope that it does, because I can see what it means. I'm feeling quite strongly what this means. If we think about these eclipses in your 6th house over the last 24 months or so, there's been, like, your daily rhythm has been shut down. There's been things that have, you know, maybe to do with your health, but maybe it's to do with your, you know, greater relationship with your body as well. You're sort of thinking to yourself, right, okay, I can't ignore this any longer. Perhaps this is what you're sharing. And this could be to, you know, mind, body, spirit, but whatever it is, there's something that you reckoned with. Yeah, there's something that you reckoned with, and now you can finesse this. Yeah, I keep on saying rehearsal room here. This is the 5 of Wands to me. It's like, yeah, sparring match, you know, practice. Practice is the 5 of Wands. I'm going to get you some intuitive tarot too, Sagittarius, and see if I can round this one out. But yeah, we will be experiencing one more final crescendo in Taurus in October of this year. It's going to be lunar eclipse, and the last one in Taurus that we'll have for the next, I think, 20 years or so. So listen to the body, and also share what you know about the body, or share what you know about repetition. Oh, my tummy's rumbling. It always does that when I do these readings. Excuse me. Yes, all right. It's becoming clearer. So I got the Queen of Cups, I got the Page of Swords, and I got the 8 of Swords. So I think that there's something definitely about, yeah, let me get my thoughts clear. Sorry, Sagittarius. This is like a generational passing down. This is something that I can see. If you can see here, the Queen of Cups is someone that has, you know, up to this point lived a life of gleaning emotional lessons and coming to a great sense of empathy for other people, and really being relaxed enough and patient enough with folks that might be having a difficult time, or can kind of witness the different ways in which human beings have a difficult time, and they're wise. They have something to offer in terms of kind of patience, which is also a nice sentiment too, because I've got the Seven of Pentacles here, and this card is about patience. This is the lunation. This is about sowing seeds and about waiting for formation. Now I've got the Page of Swords and the Eight of Swords here, Sag, so I think that what it is that you have to offer includes those of us that have a tricky time with either their intellect or their mind. There's something here about sort of easing anxiety or sharing strategies to ease anxiety that's coming really strongly. And maybe this is this sixth house experience that you've had too. I wonder if you've had experience with a busy mind or an overactive mind, or with melancholy, sadness, you know. Now is the time for you to start preparing what it is that you know about mental suffering, and how the different strategies that you've developed over time, different repetitious processes. I keep on saying repetition, but it's just the best word for the sixth house. You know, it's because it's not fun. There's, you know, you can find the fun and then snap, the job's a game. Do you understand? That's the sixth is definitely, you know, spoonful of sugar. Every task you undertake becomes a piece of cake if you drop into it. And if you feel it through, 1, 2, 3, back in the room, in the body, you know, this is what you have to share with other people, because what I can definitely figure out and decipher in my gentle journeys in the outside world, as I gain confidence and feel much more comfortable to move around again. There was a time there where I had major agoraphobia, that's for sure, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I think I can sort of be a bit sort of gentle with myself about that, but I've worked through it, or I'm working through it. I feel in different interactions with different people and witnessing what is on the minds of others, there's a great need, an urgent need for us to provide solutions for, you know, a build-up of anxiety. We were sort of expected to just dive right back in and just back to normal, you know. We have all lived through something that we'll probably never, on a scale that we'll never live through again. And we're still here, and we should be so proud of ourselves. But there's this rush to get back to normal, which was back to the rat race, back to hurrying up. And for folks, you know, the wheels are maybe sort of coming off for some people. Maybe you can witness that. Maybe you can look around and sort of see who might be suffering a little bit because they're trying to get back to business as usual, and they just can't because they've changed. One thing about Taurus, I will say, is they take as long as they need to. That's my stomach again. Please ignore it. The Seven of Pentacles is about patience. You sow those seeds and you don't expect them to sprout and to grow into a tree straight away. You need to wait. And in a culture that will not allow us to dawdle, it's kind of almost like a political act to dawdle. So I think that you know this as well. And so how can you put your skills in repetition and mindfulness into some sense of structure, either sharing it or writing it, to aid and to benefit others? Now's the time. It doesn't have to be so literal as like a how-to, you know, you're going to be writing an anti-anxiety pamphlet. It's not that at all. But it could be far more creative than that. But it's not to say that that's not creative. Oh, God. You understand what I mean? Like I'm just providing you with the doorway open. It could be anything. But now is the time, and this new moon is the time to start sowing those little seeds, because there'll be some great things to grow from that as time goes on. Okay, Sag, that's your reading. I hope it made sense. great big love to you. Yes, you can head to umaruby.com, my website, and book yourself a birth chart reading with me. I'd love to meet you if I haven't already. Tip money is always very much appreciated at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. Check the description below for your invite to ritual on the 4th of June for the full moon in Sagittarius. Now, this will be in your first house, so it might hit a little deeper than others for you, my Sagittarius risings. Much love to you. I look forward to meeting you if I haven't already, and I'll speak to you soon. You take care. Bye.